Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to LEGO Indiana Jones and the original trilogy. The first of two LEGO Indiana Jones games. I have some good news and bad news as you watch, if you'll bear with me and watch as I jump forward here. The good news is, it turns out, for what can only be explained as insane reasons, the bug that we ended last recording on, where you just could not jump, is completely fixed when you turn on vertical sync. Absolute proof in my mind that the physics engine of this game, and all LEGO games, it seems, at least all LEGO games between this one, which I believe was right after LEGO Star Wars, and some of the most recent ones like Lego The Hobbit, uh, all seem to, or at least some of those seem to be on the same engine and run the same way and run into this lagginess. Now, what's weird is the fact that the lagginess only seems to occur for some people, but I can't really recommend to anybody buy this game, see if it lags in the first couple of hours, but make sure you have a timer for 2 hours so you can send it back to, you can get an automatic refund from Steam, because that just doesn't make sense. Like, there certainly are people on the Steam forum that say this runs flawlessly on Windows 10, doesn't give them any problems at all. Uh, Now, what I'm doing here right now is I'm trying to get it to lock up, and it consistently would lock up when I jumped forward here before. It did it twice in a row, I guess, and now it won't do it. Almost as if the game has figured out that calculation and there's nothing to do. So it doesn't have to process it again. So let's move forward. The game certainly with vertical sync does help, and I was gonna wait till we lagged once, and then I was gonna go back to 1080p. We're right now at 800 by 600, did the full reset. I don't really think there's a reason why you need to go and attempt the game at the lowest resolution with all the features turned off. So before, the bug was right here. You would carry it and then you'd get stuck and you wouldn't be able to jump. And now I can jump, and now you're gonna see I easily can just click here, and it's not even, you don't even get stuck. You want to jump? It works. That's ridiculous. That is completely ridiculous. Let's go back and turn off vertical sync and then hit accept. So all we did was turn off vertical sync. I can't click here. I get stuck right here, and I can't jump. And I can't jump. Well, actually, I did manage to bunny hop my way out of that way. Like, it makes no sense at all. No sense at all. That's insane logic right there. Vertical sync tying to the way the game actually plays. All vertical sync is supposed to mean is that if your monitor can only go at 60 frames per second, it will only render up to 60 frames per second. If your monitor can only do 30 frames, it will only do 30. If your monitor can do 240 and the game can only do 120, you're still only going to get 120. If the game decides at certain places can only do 50 frames, but your monitor can do 60 frames per second, at the end of the day, you're still very much going to be limited by what the game can actually render. That's all vertical sync means, and sync is probably the wrong phrase, but it has nothing whatsoever to do with whether you can jump somewhere or not. And see, I'm desperately jumping around to see the game lock up again, but I think at the lower resolution we may very well lower the number of times you would lock up in a game. Just by not stressing the computer as much. Which I guess means I should... There we go. Finally! It's the fire that seems to bring it out. Fire effects. So this game might actually run perfectly fine if you could turn off the fire effects, the explosions, but there's no way to do it. So unless I find that there is a great reason, or it gets really, really bad on the locking up, I'm just going to stick with 1080p and 16:9 resolutions. I will, at the end of this recording, reset the program just to make sure everything is at the right stretch resolution and have vertical sync on, and that's the best we can do, and at the very least it seems like we can play to the end of the game this way, because we were very, very close to having to just end the series in this recording. Extremely, extremely close. So I need to fill the guards with the right hats. And there's a limited number of bullets in this. Interesting. So you pick up this hat. I like the hat mechanic in Lego games. It gets right back to, you can play as the character you want, and yet you can still pretend to be other characters and unlock gates or gate off areas by having to beat specific bosses. It's a slightly more interesting way than the standard concept of you're fighting a boss and the boss has a key that he drops when you defeat him. I need a book to translate that, which I don't have. So I think what I'm gonna do is just finish this truck, and then can you fix that? Nope. Now you can fix it. So now where am I driving? We can drive over the silver things, and I guess that means we can get through this section, and then I suppose we'll take this and go through here. And here's the famous scene where Harrison Ford, the actor of Indiana Jones, was suffering from some sickness and decides to just shoot him because he couldn't do the fight scene that was written in the movie. But see, that whole cutscene there locked up in the middle of the cutscene, so you're not even seeing the cutscene. It's just, it's really bad. It's really, really bad. I don't even know what just happened there. Like, can I possibly go back and check and see if I can see that cutscene again? I don't know. So, with that small amount of characters we're going to unlock, we're probably going to get the first row. It will be characters from the first movie. The second row will be the characters from the second movie, and the third row will be characters from the third movie, and then the rest of them, the other two rows are very possibly just going to be extra things. So it's showing you the movement to the next level, but that's not where we chose to go. So if I choose this and then we click back here, can we actually see this outro, and will it play right this time? Or will it just lock up again? There's really no reason why it should have locked up in the first place. This is an in-game engine. This is literally just video. There's no reason why it should lock up. Well, maybe it is in-game engine. But if it is in-game engine, then it doesn't make any sense. Because the actions and the way the characters play. So just look at how little. So he thought she was dead. Like how little you actually saw because of the lagging there. That's really, really unacceptable. And then we have loading screens. There's actually a decent amount of loading that happens in this game. More than there should be. Because when you load from the main menu, you go to Barrett College. And when you go to Barrett College, you then have to load into the level. So they've fallen into a very common mistake in video game programming, where instead of just saying load me into the next level, which is what it should have done, it is double loading you and taking twice as much time. Now, I don't think unless we get really, really important cutscenes with a lot of lagging, I don't think I'm gonna do too much of going back and watching cutscenes, so we'll probably miss a few frames. But that was really, really bad. So here they are, they're finally in the map room. And this is, I would guesstimate roughly 40 minutes into an hour and 40 minute movie. In fact, it might be even further. Because the ending of this movie in particular is kind of rushed. And people familiar or have seen the movie once know the sequence. But like that scene right there, there was a piece of glass between Harrison Ford and the snake lurched forward to attack him and hit the glass. And I'm maybe in the remastered versions they cut that out. But so here they introduced the phobia concept. So Indiana Jones is afraid of snakes, and you can inch him towards it, but he's not going to be able to jump, and he's not going to be able to do anything. And it's not a frame rate issue, it's just that's how the game is designed to play. So you can't really make a complaint there. That is true to character, true to style. It also is an interesting concept in the general idea of characters having fears as a characterization in video games, because that doesn't happen enough, really. Does the God of War have any true fears or phobias that ever hinder him in his gameplay? Probably not. Does Nathan Drake have any fears or phobias? Probably not. He may have some character flaws, but I don't think they're going to be big ones. So we threw the fire and that cleared that path. But there are several free play things we could do here. I, however, don't think I could just jump and reach that. So, right move is to stand on this and stand on this and move on to the next section. We're doing 1.5 levels here without Marion. Notice it's sections of 4 or 3 spears that come out. And if I kill the snake as the other character, then Indy has no reason to be afraid. This again may very well be free play stuff that doesn't matter. And we're fighting snakes here. If I stand there, and then you stand here. See, they violated the logic on this. When we first saw the platforms that required extra weight, it was just 2 people needed to stand on it. That then changed into animals and heavier creatures or heavier things. So what the game would have needed to do, I think, to be more consistent would have been to have a actual scale on those weight platforms. Let's see if I paid enough attention there. Nope. Okay. If there was an actual scale and it said like 1 ton or 1 T, and then there was a weight or a car, or there was actually just a picture of the thing you were supposed to have. Right. So this is a puzzle. I don't think this actually has much, if anything, to do with that. It's just squeezed in there. There. Alright. Let's see. You have to pick this up and place it here before you can push it or pull it. And got some Anubis heads. And we activated a weight. And see, now we're getting attacked by spiders. Tiny little Lego spiders, which I don't think I've ever seen those in real Lego. They very well may exist, but one of the sad things about Lego is that they had a Indiana Jones series a few years back, but they're all out of print now, and I don't really suspect that they would have another Indiana Jones series for a while. Maybe if the 5th Lego Indiana Jones movie comes out, which it's possible that that will actually come out. Darn it. This guy did not want to cooperate one bit. I suppose the question is, did all of LucasArts get sold to Disney? Because I'm not certain of that. I think it's true. And the game locked up because of a particle effect. Does it speed up the glitching any if I just hit controls and press buttons? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. It just gives me something to do. Come on, make it. Yeah, I guess the question that I'm not 100% certain on is whether Steven Spielberg has the rights to Indiana Jones, which he almost certainly does, and whether that would be done with any help or ideas from LucasArts at all, or if it is simply a case of Steven Spielberg is making the next Indiana Jones movie with a completely different company. And honestly, I'm not even certain LucasArts had a hand in the original 3 Indiana Jones things. I could be confused on that. This clearly seems like I'm supposed to... Like, what am I supposed to do here? Come on. Okay. I needed to build a head from over there, which was off screen. That's bad video game design. And then the stairs get fixed. And then I can walk up here with this piece. And in the meanwhile, I need to hurry because while I'm doing all of this, the clock is ticking. Let's see, do I put that platform there? And then we've got to put the eyeballs in it. This is convoluted. This is a really convoluted puzzle. And it's not like there was anything in the game, I mean in the movie, like this. There's no Sphinx you had to put eyes in. These are the kind of things you might have seen, but I suppose if they had more time and more budget, they very well may have had things like this. But I don't believe there was much of anything to the scene. Part of the problem is I haven't sat down and watched Raiders of the Lost Ark probably ever in its entirety. I've seen the famous scenes. I know what's going to happen. So it's almost a waste. I know there's a ton of talking. It's very old school in its style of storytelling as far as movies, where there was a lot of scene changes and a lot of talking. Before we had the ability to light and have good quality cameras that can record at darker places. Often scenes were rather short. You would walk up to a person, have a conversation, and then walk away, and that would be the entire scene. And then it may go to the next scene where they walk up and have a conversation and go to another scene. And some of that has to do with just less quality writing of older movies, and some of that has to do with the fact that they only had so much light and couldn't write scenes that were 20 minutes long in the same place. And that's when the movies start to feel unrealistic, is when you have people always moving about from location to location, which is not normal at all. Nowadays, more modern movies, the movies could potentially be just one long action sequence, because they will sometimes stubbornly refuse to even consider fading to black and going to a new location without showing that characters actually travel from one location to another. And they certainly have done some artistic movies that are proud of the fact that it's one long scene with no cuts. But like this section, I don't know how in the actual Raiders of the Lost Ark they found the thing. I think it happened off screen, honestly. I think maybe they found a box and they pulled the box, a just like wooden box, out of a small cave, and that was it. And I think it's the bad guys that do it. I don't think this makes sense, because even touching the rods biblically, you know, what should have killed both Indiana Jones and his friend there. Because I think only the high priest of the Levite clan would have been allowed to touch it, even by the rods, let alone any other part would definitely kill him. There's a story in the Bible specifically where the Ark of the Covenant is about to tip over, and one of the Israelites grabbed it to stop it from falling over, and it killed him immediately. So we're going through what kind of seems like the same area we were in to begin with. And I kind of think this was the only actual scene in the movie. Otherwise it wouldn't make a lot of sense. So they probably just came down to an area somewhat like this, and then found the Ark of the Covenant, then got thrown down, then the girl gets thrown down, I think, but maybe not. Certainly they did find like a passage out, but again the movie just faded to black. It'll be an interesting thought to see if she can get up there. Well, I managed it with the ridiculous is it vertical sync enabled? I don't ever enable vertical sync because specifically it doesn't really matter if more frames are rendered before my monitor, my TV, can see them, because I'm recording this for YouTube, not particularly for my own entertainment. And hopefully, one would hope, I'm not sure, hopefully the OBS software I'm using, Open Broadcast software, can catch those extra frames. In fact, I'm almost fairly certain it can, because often I will see screen tearing on my monitor, which is the thing that vertical sync was specifically designed to avoid. It was screen tearing, where one frame was ready and trying to animate while the second frame hadn't finished. I have definitely seen screen tearing on my monitor and then gone back and watched it on YouTube, and it looks way better. That was quite a difficult task there. That would have been a little difficult for kids to pull that off. It was a little difficult for me as an adult to pull off. Alright, so we've got to dig up this switch, which has a red band on the lever, which helps it a little bit. come over here and pull this. Come over here and pull this. And spiders. And apparently nobody is afraid of spiders. You would think for a level full of spiders they would have given that phobia to somebody, but they're trying to stay specifically true to what the characters showed in the gameplay. I wish I knew where this went. It's way over there. You may, if you were keen-eyed, realize that this old Lego game doesn't have a pointer off screen. So when I pick up something like this key, there's no pointer telling me where to use the key until you get the item it's actually supposed to work with, and then you can see an arrow pointing on it. So I need one more. I need one more gear. We're gonna get True Adventurer, it looks like. Having extra studs actually is an interesting issue in this game, because you can purchase any collectibles you can't find and ruin the game for yourself effectively, but and the idea of having to go back a screen to get the shovel is not a great idea. I just don't think really young kids would have that kind of memory to know, oh, I need a shovel and I don't see a shovel around here. I could easily see a bunch of little kids just running around in circles going, where's the shovel? Where's the shovel? It's got to be on this screen. No, none of the other video games in the past 20 years have ever asked you to go backwards on the screen. So yeah, that's definitely an issue. So she needs to come over here and seal that. And then, will this permanently be upright, or do I have to? Alright, so that's a permanent move. Kill the snake. And then come over here. And we'll come over here and might as well finish the job. Well, geez, how am I supposed to get that one? I can't even imagine how you would get up there. Like, there's no item anywhere close. Like, there's nothing, no platform, no item, no rope to swing on. So I'll just stand on this one. He'll come stand on that one. Yeah. There must be some character that can either jump twice as high as most girls or can fly. And neither one of those are really striking a chord in my memory as far as the Lego Indiana Jones original trilogy. So there's some booby traps on sarcophagus, and another scene that would have been great if it actually was in the movie. I think there might even be one of these that you can walk into. Come on. I really don't agree with the idea of pushing buttons here. I think that's just going to add more random input that's going to make it worse. I need to hurry. Okay, I see. So they're making it really obvious that there's a side section here. I don't need to break things. And see, I'd have to get those two pieces, but she does have a book. So I don't think this is actually little Lego bones. Let's see. Just stand on the switch and then start running. Oh, darn it. Well, that worked. Sorry about hitting the microphone. That. What's kind of surprising here is that they simplified the puzzle too in later Lego games. In later Lego games, it usually, if I'm remembering correctly, is a 2x2 grid, not a 3x3 grid, reducing the possible inputs from 1 and 4, well, from 1 and 9 to 1 and 4, which is almost more than half a reduction in difficulty. Random guessing has a decent chance of succeeding at 1 and 4. It has very little chance of succeeding at 1 of 9. So we need 2 weights lifted to raise this bridge. Here is a clearly non-existent sequence. This might very well have been the original intent, though. It wouldn't surprise me if Harrison Ford was sick throughout more of the movie than they let on, and they actually had to cut a bunch of scenes, or they were just over budget and they had to cut a bunch of scenes. The reason kind of doesn't even matter now. It just wouldn't surprise me if in Steven Spielberg's original intent of the movie there were entire large set pieces like this that got eliminated. Probably for budgetary reasons. You just really can't build this much on a movie that has been untested. And I guess in modern time with CGI and green screens, you probably could make a movie with large set pieces like this pretty easily and just record everything on a green screen, or at least most of it on a green screen. And the game lags. How can you enjoy a game where literally major sections of it, like, you can't get through a single level without being reminded that it's just not optimized properly? This is a clear example of where buyer beware doesn't serve society enough. The fact that there is no real legal recourse to make people fix their entertainment. I mean, it would be burdenous if a company went out of business and then somebody came back and said, look, your game is not up to quality, fix it. But all we have now are refunds, and half the people that don't even bother to try to get refunds. And so corporations and businesses completely exist around the idea of selling garbage and then refunding half of it, but pocketing the other half. I would like to see, and the funny thing is, if there was some kind of court system where where you could sue people for creating inferior products, that not just ones that have to actually do physical or financial harm, just an inferior product in general. The video game industry would be so far at the bottom of the cases that would be taken, that it wouldn't even matter. People would be suing for inferior cars. We just had an instance of the VW Volkswagens lying about their fuel efficiency. People would sue about inferior education. That would be great if you could say, look, you gave me a 4-year degree and that degree taught me nothing and it didn't help me get a job. There would be so many other issues where buyer beware is kind of just a standard quo, standard method of operation, that we should rethink it. And video games themselves would be so far at the bottom of the list. It would take probably decades, if not 100 years, before somebody even got around to saying, look, this Lego Indiana Jones game on PC is just a bad port. Now, the same thing could be affected really easily, though, if Steam in particular and other sellers, but Steam in particular, since it is the biggest marketplace for video games, if they just came out and said, we don't want your product on our shelves, our digital shelves, because it's too buggy. And if they came out there and started curating for just quality of running, not quality of story, not quality of ideas, just the quality of, does this run on most people's PCs, or is it buggy and laggy? Because either my specific PC build is just terrible for Lego games, or there is a major percentage of people who play Lego games and have this experience. I can only be certain about what I'm seeing. So, on that thought, if Steam would just curate their store a little bit for quality and kick off TT games, or say we're going to kick you off unless you put a patch out, I think that would be enough to scare TT Games, the creators of the Lego game series, into putting out patches and actually supporting it. There's entire DLCs, extensions of the stories for Lego The Hobbit that never even came to PC. Unacceptable that that game is for sale, considering it's missing its entire ending chapter. Anyways, we've already gone long. Gone wrong maybe too, but we've gone long. We're at 11.4%. That's another thing to take note. We're not going to take forever on this series. There will be just 6, 12, 18 levels, I suspect, in the entire game, versus potentially the 36 for Lego Star Wars, which was the original trilogy and the second trilogy. So the Lego Star Wars as you get it now is the combination of 2 games, where this is really about half of that. But yeah, at 11.4%, we're over 1/10 of the way there. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, click that notification bell, and comment down below. Also, watch every second of my videos. Finally, please also friend and follow me on all the social media links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.